The ugly side of losing half of your body weight and the plastic surgery that follows. That's the subject that I'm covering today because, friends, I have done both. Hello, everyone. My name is Melissa. I've been on YouTube for 8 years, and I have been through the gamut in those 8 years. And I know that some of you that have been with me realize all of everything that I've been through, but this is kind of a lookbook or a look back into what I have been through as far as my weight loss and my journey and all of the things that have led me to this point and what I think of losing 155 pounds. And I'm going to tell you that as a child, I always felt like I was a chubby child, but looking back on my pictures, I don't believe that I was. My whole family and my extended family was weight loss oriented and the way you looked oriented. And so I always had that in my mind that your weight was the be all and the end all of where you were, how you looked in your clothes. So I was always really conscientious about that. As I became a young wife and then a young mother, I immediately put on weight right after I got married. I put on so much weight, and then I put on even more weight when I had my baby. I ended up delivering at about 207 pounds. So I've always been on that borderline of obesity anyway. I should be about 150 pounds. That's really nice weight for me. I'm 5'7". And what happened to me was my marriage was really a bad marriage, my first marriage, and I ended up spending 25 years in a very horrible, abusive relationship. So food became my comfort and it was my entertainment. It was just everything to me because it's what I turned to. I never did drugs. I never smoked. And then when I went through my divorce, it was a really messy, ugly divorce. And when I went through that divorce at the age of about 45, I put on the most weight that I'd ever had on. And then I took it off right after that. And then I found my husband. And when I found my husband, I weighed approximately about 175 pounds, 180 pounds, and got married to him, the best man in the whole wide world. And my life kind of settled down, but I still turned to food for that comfort. And then I got a diagnosis of fibromyalgia, and I had no idea how to deal with that. Again, I turned to food for comfort. And then I started really packing on the weight, really packing on a lot. And in the first 5 years of my marriage, I gained about 45 pounds, ended up, somewhere about 225, somewhere in that. And I hovered between 225 and 250 for approximately 6 years or 7 years of my marriage to my husband. And then after trying one diet after another, all of a sudden I gained another 40 and I ended up at 305 pounds. In the interim of that, I was also diagnosed with trigeminal neuralgia, which is a problem right here with your nerve that is right here in your face, and it branches in 3 branches across your face right here, and it's excruciating pain. And fortunately, I have trigeminal neuralgia that will flare and then go away for a while. So it's a lot like my fibromyalgia. I will have these extreme flares where I have really bad pain, and then it will kind of go dormant for a little while, which is my relief. But during that, again, I turned to food. And so that was my second diagnosis. And then in 2019, at 305 pounds, I made the decision to have weight loss surgery. And I knew this humongous group, and I'm talking like over 30 women that had gone to this one doctor in Mexico, and they had had their weight loss surgery. And so I decided to do that. And I took a chance and I went down there. Now, would I tell everybody else to do that? Well, I guess it depends on your circumstances. I didn't have any problems down there. I feel like my doctor was very competent. It was just different than being in the States. They had translators on site, so I never felt like I was in the dark about my care. Everything went great, but when I came home 7 days later, I did have a bowel obstruction, which happens to quite a few people that do have gastric bypass. They do have complications post-op, and that's what happened to me. So I don't feel like my experience was bad, and would I do it over again? Yes, in a heartbeat, I would do it over again. So right off the bat, I ended up losing about 125 pounds. So that was about a year and a few months. I lost 125 pounds. So I lost weight very rapidly after the bypass surgery. And then I kind of plateaued for a few years and just kept that weight off really well, actually. And as I was losing the weight, I had always told my husband that I wanted to have a tummy tuck even before I had gastric bypass, because I had had 3 C-sections. And if you've ever had a C-section, you know that you get that flap over, if your stomach was stretched out a lot, that flap over of skin and fat. But after I had gastric bypass, I was glad that I hadn't had one because I lost all this weight and I would have probably had to have something redone. So after losing 125 pounds, nothing looks like it's supposed to. Nothing is back where it's supposed to. Even as a heavy person or a person that was obese, I felt better in my skin than I did after I lost the weight, because then, everything was so saggy and just hung so weird. And that sounds really counterintuitive. You lose the weight, you think you be really happy where you are, but it never goes back. Well, in January of 2023, so last year, I decided that I was going to go ahead and have this tummy tuck. And after I had it, my stomach was flat, and I also had liposuction in my thighs and around my back and all of that. But that was the hardest thing that I'd ever been through. I was 54 years old when I had that. And having that not only at my age, but as I was actually going through menopause also, and then the recovery was just, oh my goodness, it was a bugger. It was horrible. And even though I was really happy with that, after I was done with that, there was some things that the doctor saw on me that were off. Below my bikini line, there were some things that had been pulled a little tighter on one side, or and not quite so tight on another side. So I asked him about it, and he said we need to fix it, because it didn't look right at all. It was kind of skiwampus. I don't even know how to explain it to you. I can't show you a picture of it because it's down by my butt and lady parts and everything. So but he decided that he wanted to redo that. He also decided that because he had timed out or had tanked out on the amount of liposuction that he could do on my legs, that he would also do a little bit more on my legs. And at the time, because my thighs were so small, my calves looked huge, and I just went ahead and had my calves liposuctioned after that. That was the extra that I did in that surgery. And yes, my surgeon was one of the top surgeons in the Western United States, and people come even from around the country to see my surgeon, but they were scary surgeries, and they were very hard surgeries also. And I don't know if I would ever go through those again. I am okay with the gastric bypass. I could have lived my whole life and been okay where I was, but our vanity gets a little bit much of us, right? We get to where we want perfection. After you've lost that kind of weight, you think, okay, well, I need to go a little bit further and do a little bit more. And especially after the health issues that I went through at the end of 2023. So let me just back up a little bit. In 2021, I got COVID, and I got POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. Your autonomic and your systemic nervous system don't talk well with each other. So when you stand up, instead of the heart doing its job, it's not talking right. They're not talking to each other. So when you stand up, the blood rushes out of your head and down to your feet, and you get really lightheaded because you no longer have your nervous system working the correct way. And I had a couple of passing out bouts, and then I knew I needed to go to the doctor, and they diagnosed me with POTS and left bundle branch block. And I've learned very well how to manage POTS in these past 2.5 years. And I feel like I've kind of got a good handle on both of those things. And then during my tummy tuck and the liposuction, all that, I did get diagnosed with Raynaud's, but what I didn't know is I've had Raynaud's for 15 years. I just didn't know what it was. And it's when your hands and your feet turn white from not enough circulation, and then they get hot when the blood gets back to them and they feel like they're burning. I mean, it's a whole thing. So I have some autoimmune diseases and disorders. So obviously I have autoimmune issues in my body, which actually might help you when you're thinking about any of those plastic surgeries that I've talked about, because I didn't know that my autoimmune disorders would go insanely, incredibly crazy during surgeries. So I have to be extra careful in that everything that is in my body will get stirred up, and I will go through so much more pain, so much more recovery time than the normal person. I just didn't realize all of that. But that's not where it stops, because let's fast forward to last year in November, and I got a portal vein clot, which is the big, huge vein that comes from the liver and goes up to our heart. So our liver filters all the blood out, and then it goes back and it pumps to our heart. You get that portal vein stuck, guess what? You're in trouble. And I was in trouble. But all of this contributed to where I am today, in that since I had that portal vein, I was not able to eat very much. And I never thought I'd be somebody that complained about losing weight, but I dropped another 25 or 30 pounds right after that, and I got to the 155 pounds that I'm talking about today that I've lost. But the problem is I can't eat very much because of that clot. Everything that goes down there hurts my stomach. So as I showed you before and after pictures as we were going through this video, here's my takeaway from all of it. Would I do the weight loss surgery again? I sure would. I do it in a heartbeat. I feel like there are some genetic things, there are some things that happen environmentally, and there are some things that happen to us psychologically that we need help with. And that's the other thing I would say. If you have weight loss surgery done, when you go to Mexico, you're not required to go through all the psychological part of it. That's the part that I have learned these past 5 years, and I wish that I could go back and do that before I had my weight loss surgery. So yes, I do feel like the United States kind of nails it when you're talking to a registered dietitian, you're talking to a psychologist, and your regular doctor. All of those things have to work together in order for you to be a success with weight loss. Even if you're not doing surgery and you have a lot of weight to lose, you need to go through some sort of talk therapy and a registered dietitian. I think that is so, so important. I do have a few videos of my weight loss and my health struggles, and I'll make sure that I put the playlists of both of those down in this video. And one other thing that I want to mention to anybody that is thinking about doing this weight loss journey, you will hit a wall where you feel like, I don't care anymore about anything. And I've hit that wall this year, and maybe it's because of all of my health issues in coupling with that, menopause and the portal vein issues. And I am on burnout. I'm on complete and total burnout, not only in my personal life, but for YouTube. And that's why I've been so sporadic. And I apologize to everyone for how sporadic I have been. But as we go through our lives, we do hit walls occasionally, and we have to pick ourselves up and we have to go on. And you guys have really helped me through a lot of that because of your input and the things that you've talked to me about your own personal struggles. And you realize that the world is a mess in a lot of ways, and no one is immune to having things in their life that are very impactful and very hard to get through. But we need other people and we need joy in our lives. This will be a video that gets a lot of comments. So I apologize if you just get a heart, but you know that I've read them. If you have a specific question, yes, I will try so hard to answer you. I appreciate all of you more than you will know. I hope that going forward, your struggles get a little bit easier if you do have any in your life. And I pray and hope for the very best for each and every one of you. Thank you, dear friends. Love you much. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.